Hi, I'm Mindy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be wrapping up the books that I read for New Worlds November. That is the science fiction that I read in November. New Worlds November is a reading event hosted by the Bookish Bryants and a bunch of other great channels that I will have linked down below so you can go check out their channels if you haven't already. And this reading event was split into 4 weeks with themes. I didn't go out of my way to pick stories that fit the themes, but it did kind of work out for the most part. And I'll tell you what I read for this event. Week 1 was Terrestrial Stories, so stories that take place on Earth. And what I read in the first week of November was Bloodchild by Octavia E. Butler. I had read 3 stories from this last year during New Worlds November, and I read all of the rest of the stories in the first week of November this month, and I love them all. This is a fantastic collection. All the stories that I read from this all took place on Earth, so it was a great collection to fit the theme. This is a 5-star collection for sure. Week 2 was Extraterrestrial Stories, which are stories that take place anywhere other than Earth. And I read Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon, which is an alien romance taking place on an ice planet. Well, first in a spaceship getting transported, and then on an ice planet. This I listened to because Becky from the Bookish Bryants is always talking about alien romance, and I've heard a lot about this specific series, and I wanted to see what all the fuss was about, and I have to admit it was very entertaining. Just the adventure of it. And it was very fast paced and kind of like high stakes, like, what are these girls gonna do? And it's a very scary situation because they have been kidnapped and are being taken to be sold as slaves, basically. Very scary. All kinds of harrowing events occur that I definitely got sucked into. Even though the story is kind of silly and odd, has a lot to do with falling in love with giant blue aliens. I read some poetry that took place in space in the collection The Gravity of Existence by Christina Singh. I didn't plan it that way, but it worked out. There was a section of the poetry book that all took place in space, and it was wonderful. Little bonus. Week three's prompt was classics, stories from before 1965. I finished the collection I Am Legend and Other Stories by Richard Matheson. I really liked about half of the stories I read and didn't like the other half. Just so happened that the half I liked were the newer stories, and the ones that took place or were written in the 1950s, before 1965, were the ones I didn't like as much. But I guess that shows growth in his writing, I guess, or just the ideas became more the kind of thing that I'm interested in. But I did really love I Am Legend, the main novella, and there were quite a few winning stories in here as well. I would say that these stories had very little science fiction in them. Richard Matheson is known for his science fiction horror mashups kind of thing, but these ones were pretty much horror, but I'm still counting it. And then week 4 was robots and AI, and that week I finished the collection Exhalation by Ted Chiang. I thought I had read all of the robots and AI stories from this book last year, but it just so happens that the first story I read from here did fit. I was happy about that. Let's see. That story is called... is it Exhalation? It was Exhalation. Oh, that's right. Everything worked with air and breathing. So, Exhalation is about a society in which air is the main source of life. Everything runs on air. And at first you think that it's talking about humans or other aliens or something like that. And then it starts describing their bodies and things, and it's like gears and rods and all this machinery basically. And yeah, it's actually about robots and AI, so that was cool. And they are very much thinking machines, very, very smart, and finding out the problems with their world. And that was a brilliant, really, really interesting story. Probably my favorite from the group that I read this year. I really enjoyed the time travel story last year as well, The Merchant and the Alchemist Gate. So those are the things that I read for New World's November. I'm glad I got to read quite a few short science fiction things, and can't wait to read some more next year. Let me know what you think of the books that I read for this challenge, and I will be back very soon with another book-related video. Thanks. Bye.